In 1677, there were approximately 30 million Muslims living in the Ottoman Empire. Today, there are over 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide. Where did they all come from? How did Islam spread from a tiny tribe in the Arabian Peninsula to become the world's second largest religion? It's me. This is my channel. And today we are going to time travel back to the 17th century and find out what the world's most powerful empire was like. So prepare yourself for an unforgettable journey through history. Welcome to my channel. It's been said that if even the terrible had a son who lived to adulthood, he would have been a contender for the title of scariest man in history. But let's be honest, he didn't. So Sultan Mehmed IV of the Ottoman Empire takes that title by default. Imagine if someone put a toddler in charge of your country while you were on vacation. That's what it was like when Mehmed came to power at age 14 after his father's death. While his mother served as regent, she couldn't control him and soon sent him to live with his advisors in a separate palace. And while he eventually became a capable ruler, his whims still caused problems. Once he ordered every single chicken in the capital of Constantinople to be roasted and served up to his guests. You can probably guess what happened next. There weren't enough chickens in the city to satisfy the Sultan's appetite. And while this may seem comical to us today, it was actually quite serious. It led to massive shortages of food and skyrocketing inflation, which made people question the Sultan's sanity. To make matters worse, the Sultan grew fond of one of his wives so much that he decided to build her a lavish new palace. Unfortunately, the architects and engineers of the Ottoman Empire weren't quite up to par with their European counterparts, and the building collapsed before it was finished, killing hundreds of workers. To make matters even worse, when Mehmed learned about the deaths, he blamed his vizier and had him put to death for not completing the project in time. In fact, he went on a bit of a killing spree after this, executing anyone he didn't like until his mother stepped in and saved them. All this was just the beginning, because after his mother's death, things really started to go downhill. He went on to kill several members of his own family, including his younger brother and sister, as well as 2 grand viziers and 3 of his sons. On top of all this, he liked to throw gold coins from his palace windows just for fun. At the end of his reign, his advisors realized that the best way to survive in the Sultan's court was to keep him distracted. So they found a very creative outlet for the Sultan's energy. They built him a boat, and he spent the last years of his life sailing around the Bosphorus Strait. As a result of his poor decisions, the Ottoman Empire was left weak and divided, setting the stage for a series of events that would change the course of history forever. Let's take a look at some of the ways that the Ottomans dominated the world during Mehmed's reign. We'll start by taking a trip back in time to the early days of the Ottoman Empire. Back then, the Ottomans were just a small group of nomadic tribes living in the mountains of northern Anatolia. They were constantly fighting with the Byzantines to try and expand their territory. But it wasn't until they captured Constantinople in 1453 that they started to become a real force to be reckoned with. After conquering Constantinople, the Ottomans began expanding rapidly in all directions. They fought against the Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt, the Safavid Empire in Persia, and the Habsburg dynasty in Hungary. And they even launched naval attacks on Italian coastal cities. By the time Mehmed IV took the throne in 1648, the Ottoman Empire stretched from North Africa to the Middle East and into Eastern Europe. They controlled vital trade routes between Europe and Asia and had amassed a huge navy that ruled the Mediterranean Sea. The Sultan's personal fortune was estimated to be worth over $500 million in today's money, and he had complete control over the flow of goods coming into and out of his empire. For example, he could easily stop the flow of silk from China or spices from India just to raise their prices in Europe. Because of this, the Ottoman Empire became incredibly wealthy while everyone else suffered. Mehmed was so rich that he practically showered gold coins from his palace windows. During his reign, the Ottomans became the dominant power in the Mediterranean. Their navy was so strong that no other fleet dared challenge them. And their army was so large and well equipped that they were feared throughout the region. Furthermore, the Sultan had a standing order to kill any Christian sailor who entered Ottoman waters. This led to a shortage of sailors in Europe and forced them to pay exorbitant fees to the Ottomans to protect their ships. To add insult to injury, the Ottomans also charged Christians a special tax just for being Christian. They called it the jizya, and it was a humiliating reminder of their second-class status in Ottoman society. If that wasn't bad enough, the Ottomans also imposed a special tax on Jews and other non-Muslims called the jizya. It was a hefty sum of money that non-Muslims had to pay in order to be exempt from military service. On top of that, they couldn't own weapons and had to wear special clothing that identified them as non-Muslims. In fact, if a non-Muslim was caught wearing a Muslim's traditional garments, they would be put to death. The Ottoman Empire's treatment of non-Muslims was so bad that many converted to Islam just to escape the persecution. Despite all this, the Ottoman Empire wasn't perfect. In fact, it was riddled with corruption, nepotism, and cronyism. The Sultan's court was full of intrigue and backstabbing as ambitious officials competed for power. And the Sultan himself was often swayed by flattery and the promises of wealth and power. However, despite these problems, the Ottoman Empire continued to expand. They fought against the Russians in the Black Sea and the Poles in Ukraine. They even launched a major offensive into Central Europe, sacking Vienna in 1683, but their victory was short-lived. Soon after, the Polish king came back with a vengeance and pushed the Ottomans out of Hungary. From there, the Ottomans never recovered. They lost valuable territory, and the European powers began to chip away at their dominance in the Mediterranean. So what can we learn from the Ottomans? First of all, they show us that even the mightiest empires can fall. No matter how powerful you are, if you don't know how to manage your resources and make smart decisions, you will eventually collapse. Secondly, they teach us the importance of religious tolerance. If the Ottomans had been more tolerant of other religions, they might have been able to hold on to power for longer. Finally, the Ottomans remind us that even the greatest empires are made up of ordinary people. The Sultan might have been a spoiled child throwing gold coins from his palace window, but he was still a human being with strengths and weaknesses just like you and me. In the end, the Ottoman Empire's story is one of both triumph and tragedy. They achieved great wealth and power, but ultimately lost it all due to their own mistakes. Let's hope that we can learn from their example and build a better future for ourselves. As we reflect on the rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire, it's important to remember that their impact on the world was profound and long-lasting. They played a key role in shaping the political, economic, and cultural landscape of 3 continents, and their influence can still be seen today. Their contributions to architecture, art, and science are a testament to their ingenuity and creativity, and their legacy continues to inspire awe and wonder. However, it's equally important to acknowledge the darker aspects of the Ottoman Empire. Their treatment of non-Muslims was often brutal and oppressive, and their military campaigns resulted in the deaths of millions. We must remember the victims of Ottoman oppression and strive to create a world where such atrocities never repeat themselves. Ultimately, the Ottoman Empire is a reminder that no empire is perfect, and that even the greatest powers can make terrible mistakes. However, by learning from their example, we can work towards a better future and strive to create a world that is more tolerant, compassionate, and just. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with others. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments below. What surprised you the most about the Ottoman Empire? What do you think the world would be like if they had stayed in power? I look forward to reading your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.